Okay, in the new episode of Denim and Leather Podcast, please welcome Ken Tamplin from the world famous Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy.
Hey,
Thank you
everybody.
for coming. Thank you for coming, Ken.
My pleasure, man. How are you, Udo? How are you doing, man? You doing good?
I'm doing great, yeah. I'm also in the music for 25 years, maybe
Oh, wow.
a drummer in a band. But I follow all kinds of heavy metal, hard rock, rock and roll, everything connected with that. You know, I talk with a lot of people, and your student Katie Scher was in my show, so she had wonderful words about you. You know,
Oh,
so
well, thank you. She's a wonderful person. In this business, sometimes it's hard to get to say that if you really mean it. People say it, they don't really mean it, but she's a wonderful person.
yes, I get it. I got it. Yeah. I wanted to start with the question that's earliest start in your music life, in your career.
Okay, so ask the question because I don't know what you mean. You mean the question that you... Go ahead, you ask the question.
No, yeah, not the start of career, but how did you start with music as a kid?
Wow. Okay, that's a big question. A condensed version of that would be I was 6 years old, and my parents had a ukulele in the attic, and there was an old TV show, I think called The Rap Patrol or something in the 60s, and I played I Wish, I Wish, I Wish I Was an Army Man, and I would try to do it as a 6-year-old. Of course, it didn't sound quite like that. I'm probably better at 6 than I am now playing that, but anyway, and so it started my fire, to want to do music, to do art. I didn't want to sing back then. I wanted to be Jimmy Page. So up through till I was probably almost 20, I didn't really think of myself as a singer. I was a guitar player, and then singing came later. And I did that because I was in a band called Joshua. And now Joshua just passed away 2 days ago, actually. So anyway, I was in that band for 4 years, and there was some great talent. Rob Rock came from that band. Jeff Fenhold came from that band. There was a lot of people that went in and out. Pat Bradley, who is now huge in the jazz charts, is also the president of Whole Foods right now. Has been for 20-something years. He was a keyboard player for the band. Jizzy Pearl. Jizzy, he was the singer when I was in the band. One of many singers. So we in LA there was a lot of everyone bumped around.
You guys were like a super group in today's terms.
I mean, kind of. We were actually the very first band, the only band, and the very first band that played Dynamo Open Air Festival. Eindhoven Dynamo Open Air Festival. We were the first band to ever play it.
In the Netherlands.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Very famous festival. Yeah. Joshua was Joshua was called by the.
His name. It was his name.
Yes.
Joshua Patagias. Joshua Pariah.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Joshua. God bless.
Yes.
First band is Joshua, and then afterwards.
No, I that was my first professional band. I'd done a lot of bump around bands before then, and after Joshua was my band Shout. So I left Joshua to do Shout, and it was a mixed bag. When you look back, I think a lot of people have a lot of angst and frustration, and they look back on stuff and they can talk smack and bad things about stuff. Joshua took me in when I was only 19 years old, and he was 30, I think, at the time, and he was billed as the fastest guitar player in the world, and he was looking for someone that would trade licks with him and be a rhythm player and whatever. I was not a vocalist really at all, a background singer at best at the time. And so in the 4 years of that band, we called it the boot camp of Joshua. So I think we went through some 30 odd member changes, which should tell you how difficult the band was just to be in, to keep up, to keep up. And so when we finally got a deal with Dieter Dirks, the producer of the Scorpions at the time, it was a strange bedfellow because I was caught between trying to find myself as an artist and trying to support Joshua as an artist, wanting to learn to sing myself now at that point, write my own songs and stuff. And so after 4 years of very hard work, we just decided, that it would be best if I did my thing and he did his thing.
That was probably the best for you because your career is now more famous as a singer than as a guitar player.
Right. Well, so the interesting part, what sort of pushed me out, no fault to him. Like you can't say, here's a weird analogy. Okay. If Disney calls you and says, I want you to play the role of Prince Charming, and you play the role of Prince Charming as long as you can, and then you say to Disney, I no longer want to be Prince Charming, I want to be Sir Lancelot or some other thing, right?
Yeah.
And Disney says, no, but I hired you to be Prince Charming. I want you to be Prince Charming. And by the way, I don't think of myself as Prince Charming. I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
Anyway, at all. See my hair, they're extensions. Anyway, and so you find yourself in a odd situation because Joshua's band was known for crazy high range singing. So it was like Steve Perry on steroids, Mickey Thomas, Steve Perry. And at best, my cousin is Sammy Hagar, as you know, maybe or whatever. And so my range, Sammy's range got greater later, but at that time I had maybe an octave lower than the singers that were singing for Joshua. So I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep up with that. Like I was just struggling, And so I'm like, well, I'm learning. I took lessons from the late Ron Anderson. He just died about 8 or 9 months ago, who taught Chris Cornell, Axl Rose, Chester Bennington, like all these famous singers, whatever. I took from Ron for 12 years, And so I was trying to understand, and other vocal coaches I've taken from too, but I tried to understand how to increase range and how to be a better singer, how to not lose my voice and stuff. But it didn't happen in the time frame that Joshua needed. So ironically though, and Dieter himself, who's still alive, will attest to this, when the deal happened with Joshua, we'd moved to Germany as a band. By the way, Joshua and I moved to Europe prior to that to get record deals because they were hard to come by in LA. Like there were so many good bands. It was crazy how the explosion that was going on. So we were just trying to get some decent record deals. And Dieter, thank you to Don Dokken, we attribute it to him because he was signed to Dieter before that, turned us on to Dieter. And Dieter signed a majority of the songs and the music on my voice. But my voice wasn't up to snuff to pull it off. I wasn't that singer yet,
So your voice was used as a demo of the
correct.
versions of
Yep,
songs.
that's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yep, that's right. And so Rob Rock came in and killed it. He just came in and killed it. And so he became the singer, and then he went on to Germany to record the record. And I said, I need to back out of this. I'm friends with everybody, but I need to go do what I do to learn and grow. You guys are already at another level than I was at as a really young guy.
Yeah. I know the work of Dieter Dierks. He's famous for the Scorpions and Bonfire also.
Yeah, correct.
And I know him from Twisted Sister Come Out and Play album. Because
and also, Accept, even though Gabby Hoffman was the manager of that band, he helped a lot with Accept.
Yeah. He became known to me because of Twisted Sister. I'm a huge fan of Twisted, and of the Come Out and Play record. He produced it. Yep. So I read the stories of D and JJ talking about him. So after that, you created founded Shout. Shout
correct.
was Shout. I wanted to ask you this about. I never got into it. Was it a Christian rock band or no?
Yeah, it was. So actually, Joshua was too, but under the cover. Okay. Under the radar. Okay. And not all the band members were Christians. Joshua was. I am. And other members became Christians later. Back then, when you're young, you want to make a statement. It could be to party, to get chicks. In my case, I thought I was going to save the world in Jesus' name. I just thought, So one of the other things that I wanted to say with my life was that I wanted to be able to speak and share about my Christian faith. Well, a couple things happen, and we learn as we get older. And the first thing that happened was rock and roll isn't about, unless you're doing Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And number two, I learned that it wasn't my job or responsibility to save the world. And I realized the world didn't want to be saved. But it took a few years to figure that out. Now, that doesn't mean that I compromised in that sense. It just means that wasn't my... It wasn't up to me to beat people over the head with the Bible.
It was not your mission, yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Striper are still fighting that battle, but...
they are.
But yeah, they have a lot of hate from the other metalheads, which
yes,
is,
they do.
I don't know why, but that's not the case when it's the other way around,
You're right.
Yeah. But doesn't matter. I know the late 90s maybe I started listening to Striper and to some other that were into the Christian metal, like Deliverance, like Tourniquet, Tourniquet?
Yeah, we were on the labels together. We were in Frontline Records together.
Really? Yeah.
Label, way back when, yeah. All of those bands.
Holy Soldier also.
Well, they were actually signed to a different label, but same thing.
Yeah, maybe. Also, there was a great death metal band, Mortification.
Yeah, they were on the same label.
Yeah, great bands. I love them all. I haven't listened to some of them for 20 years, but I used to love them a lot,
That's great.
Along with the other glam metal, heavy metal that came from LA and New York,
Right, sure.
So you went on through the 90s with Shout, or when did you stop and then reform?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a tough situation. So Shout became very popular very quickly in the Christian market, not in the secular market really at all, but in the Christian market. And so we made our first record. We started writing in '86, released in '87, did another record '88, '89. And by the time at the end of 1989 rolled around, there was, I don't remember if it's, don't misquote me on this, but I think it was the Beatles, the Fabulous Four at the time. And they had a thing called Shout, the Fabulous Four or something. And the name of my band was Shout. So we had the legal right to record records, but they put a restraining order on the band to perform live.
Wow.
So the label said, you have a choice to make, because we can make records, but you can't perform live under the name Shout anymore. Now, the Fab Four could care less because they weren't recording records. They were only playing live.
Wait, but why? What was the explanation?
Because they had filed a service mark on this. It was called Shout Fab Four, something like that. It's been a long time, but they had filed a service mark on the name Shout. And so what wound up happening was my old guitar teacher, Lanny Cordola, who I was taking guitar lessons from him since I was like 16 years old. And he was in House of Lords before Doug Aldridge. Doug Aldridge. He was in Vanilla Fudge. He was in even bands before that, like what was the name of the band he did called Mondo Cane, American Heroes, even before that. Anyways, he was my guitar teacher. We became lifetime friends. And so I engaged Lanny and said, what if we started a band together? It looks like Shout, we can't perform anymore. And we're all friends, like nothing, there was no ill will, nothing. We just couldn't perform anymore under that name. And everyone was getting discouraged. And so Chuck, the other founding member, he was a general contractor. And he goes, man, I got to feed my family. I can't do this anymore. You go do whatever you got to do. So I formed a band with Lanny, which was a killer band. And it included Ken Mary on drums, It was Lanny on guitar, it was me on vocals. Chuck Wright played a role in it too for a while. And then Brian Bromberg, a really famous jazz bass player, is actually one that played on the record. And, you know, we had some other really awesome people on the record. So we did the Magdalene project as well. And that was my next project from after Shout.
And you had the albums with them?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the Magdalene album, here's a good one for you, was produced by Mick Gazowski, who is one of the greatest mix engineers in the world. In fact, he got a Grammy for like Daft Punk's, you know, Get Lucky record and so on. You know, like way more than that. From Chuck Mangione to Barbra Streisand to Kiss, you know, to
yeah.
But anyway, so we co-produced the album together. It took a whole year, but Mick and I are old friends, and we produced the album together. And yeah, there you have it.
Awesome, and you had a great drummer there, Ken Mary.
He's incredible. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. And how did afterwards your career after 2000s? When did you start the Vocal Academy afterwards?
Well, so when you, and a lot of young musicians need to hear this, when you give away your publishing, when it's hard to sell merchandising because other companies handle it and you get a small percentage.
Yeah.
You do a tour and, you know, it goes to this much for the management company and it goes to this much for all the booking agent and this whatever. You kind of get to a point after 20 some odd years of touring where you say to yourself, is this really worth doing this? Because I didn't set myself up in the right ways of going through this. And you say, you know, I need to find a way also, like Chuck leaving Shout to become a general contractor already was, you know, you say, how can I feed my family? And it really just boils down to that. You say, and the world was getting smaller and smaller. Now it's even smaller, but it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I just finally went, you know, I toured 7 to 9 months out of the year, did it for years. And I went, you know, most of touring, this is going to sound silly, but I'm going to say it for what it is. Most of the quality touring happens like over the holidays and special events and Easter and Christmas and, you know, all these things. And so, for example, you know, my wife and I at that time shared the same birthday, December 11th, you know, and I think it was the first 10 years of our marriage. I think we only got to share 2 birthdays together because I was gone like all the time. And you start saying to yourself, I miss my family. I don't need chicks on the road. You know, I don't need. So that would be the answer.
Yeah, because 20 years of touring are a lot, and at the end you see that it's not paying off well.
Not in what you felt like you were putting into it for the effort.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And everyone's different too. I mean, if you're only in it for the chicks or the drugs or the party or, you know, just barely getting by in life, that's one thing. But if you're looking to do more with your life, that's something different.
Yeah, of course, because I'm now at the stadium of 43 years now.
Okay.
So after 40, you think differently.
That's correct. That's right.
It's like some border, you know.
Yes, that's correct.
So when did you start the Vocal Academy, and how did you help the first few, let's say, voices, vocals, and?
So that's not the correct way to ask the question. I'm going to reframe the question. In all the bands I did, I taught everybody how to sing because they had to sing background vocals to me through all these tours. So it wasn't at the Vocal Academy where that started. It started way before that.
Okay.
Yes, and it started with me taking lessons from everybody from, like I said, Ryan Anderson, the late Maestro David Kyle, you know, Maestro Kyle, Seth Riggs, Leonie Maggiari, like a lot of different mega vocal coaches, Elizabeth Sabine, I could go on and on and on. So I was accumulating information and applying it every night during shows to see what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah.
And then I would apply it to myself, to my own voice, and then I would dispense that to band members. And so that was the collective of how that happened with a lot of the groups I was in. So it wasn't until when I decided to do the academy, I was like 45 years old, and I was I'd already rehabilitated a lot of voices. I made friends with some of the greatest otolaryngologists in the world, what are ENTs. Steven Seitels is one that I've sent a lot of people to him, and rehabilitated a lot of voices from him. If you don't know him, look him up. But anyway, so it wound up being that around 2009 or 10, I think it was, I put a YouTube video up, and I thought YouTube was done. I thought, and this is like oversaturated. It's been around for 4 or 5 years or 6, or however long it had been around, and I put this YouTube video up, and it went viral. And then eventually it ended up on Jimmy Fallon, and it ended up on Tasha and stuff. And, whatever, it helped a lot to have that as a platform, and it grew from there.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend who we work together on this podcast now in the studio. So I told him Ken is like now the most famous vocal coach online ever.
Thank you.
That's correct. From everywhere you can see videos popping up. Ads and stuff. It's you're everywhere on the internet.
Well, let me say something about that. I want to make something really clear, because you're going to maybe ask questions, about lip syncing or trolling, and I'm not.
I don't plan.
I don't mind for a moment touching on this. We are living in the wild, wild west, maybe even worse, because the wild, wild west was localized. You had a few guys come into town, they'd shoot a couple people, they move on to the next town. In today's world, they shoot in the internet and it goes through the whole world. Okay, it's the wild, wild west on steroids. Okay?
Yeah.
But what I'm going to bring one important point home for all of us people out there. The woke crowd can't touch me. And let me explain why. Because I have a 40-year span of success with a lot of artists around the world. I've got 40 records out. I'm not going to sit here and defend myself, because the point is, the proof is in the singing. And all the people that have done the attacking, basically none of them sing. None of them. And not only do they not sing, and I don't mean a line in a song, I mean a whole song. I don't care. A call out would be, they can lip sync all they want. They can micro edit all they want. They can auto tune all they want. They can do whatever they want. But in the end, the proof is in the singing. Give it your best shot and let's see what you got. And all the slander and the maligning and stuff is just to get views and subterfuge, meaning to take the spotlight off what they cannot do. So the only thing they have to resort to is slander and malicious malignment. In the end, no matter what, the proof is in the singing. They'll laugh and say, the proof's in the lip syncing. Go lip sync then. Let's give it your best lip sync, bro. Let's see what you got, if that's where you're coming. And they still cannot put up a damn thing. And it's hilarious, because we're talking about, I work with Dieter Dirks, I work with Mick Gazowski, I work with Ron Anderson. None of them can say that. And if the only thing they have is slander, in the end, they will never succeed. All they'll ever have is tearing people down to try to build themselves up, but they'll never contribute to humanity. They'll never write some great song. They'll never be heartfelt. It's just a way to get views. And that's kind of where the world is.
Yeah. It reminded me on a very famous beef between Paul Stanley and Dee Snider. They were having some exchange of words, and Dee said, and Dee said to Paul, "Come on the stage, no costumes, no makeup, and let's sing."
but and that's true. But in a I think Dee could have handled that a little better, because Paul has done that for 40 some odd years. So to do that to someone, good for you, Dee. But in the end, Paul did his time.
But
I know the lip syncing thing. I get all that. I understand it all. But I'm, okay. Let's move on, because I'm not looking.
No. I thought they're like 70. Both. Dee is also old,
Yes, I get it. It's cool.
Yeah. I get this. I try to say I said you popping up everywhere on the internet
Mhm.
because of your vocal academy is successful. That's what I
Thank
thought.
you. Okay, awesome. Sorry.
So
All right. But
so
anyway, the proof is in the singing, no matter
yeah.
how you look at it.
No, the proof are all of your students, like we
Correct.
mentioned, Katie Sher and
Gabriela Gunchikova,
Gabriela Gunn. Yeah,
Taylor
they're
Reed. I mean, we could go on and on. All the students, Sarah Loera. Sarah Loera right now, she was trolled on the internet going, "That's not really you singing. That's fake." And she is on tour right now with Postmodern Jukebox in Europe right now as a vocalist.
yeah,
Kayla Reeves has been a Trans-Siberian vocalist for a decade, I think. Caleb Johnson, same thing. I mean, I could go down this list of so many people.
yeah.
But people don't do their homework. They don't do their homework. They don't go. They hear something on the internet and they just believe it. But they don't go, well, wait a minute. Let's vet that. Let's verify that and see if that accusation is true or not.
Yeah. Katie told me when she was at my show that you found why she is tired of singing when she couldn't sing anymore high.
Right.
You made her go higher
Yeah.
than she could, and
That's right.
not be tired anymore.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, baby.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's the proof. The singers are the proof, and they're all amazing. I follow them all. I love them all. I mean, the all of them that came out from they have a special. Everyone is different. Some is pop rock, some is
Right.
disco, some is
Right.
heavy metal.
Yep.
Everyone sings differently. Do you hear the voice and then tell him which technique he has to use?
No, I mean, let's face it. Okay, if a singer walks in, let's say I'm a basketball coach.
Yeah.
American basketball.
Yeah, of course.
If someone comes in and they're only 5 feet tall, I mean, I'll try to get them to slam dunk something to grow them as much as I can. But
Yeah.
I want to celebrate who they are and what their qualities and capabilities are. I want to endorse and embrace and promote and get them to be the best that they are as an artist.
Yeah.
But the goal, though, is to try to sing and do as many diverse things as you can, because it increases your palette for singing. You get a lot more choices, a lot more color, a lot more, ways to express your art. So let's take Gabriella as an example. She's a great example. Gabriella only wanted to sing Love Hurts by Nazareth. When I first met her, I mean, that's all she wanted to do. Or Iron Maiden. You wouldn't know that from her because beautiful, tall, blonde girl, Iron Maiden. Yeah, really, that was like her favorite band. Bruce Dickinson, favorite singer. But I said, Gabriella, you have so much more color to your voice. I want to experiment a lot of things with you. And then once you have this under your belt, then you can decide how you want to employ that and use that for what it is that you do. And that opens up so many different things for the voice. True for Katie, true for Sarah, true for, a lot of people that we work with. Kayla Reeves is Kayla. She's wonderful blues singer, more like Janis Joplin kind of singer. Has her own unique thing that she does and does well, but I wouldn't push her to sing Mariah Carey because it's just not what she does, right? So within the context of that singer and what their signature sound is, at least when they come in, you want to celebrate that and then, turn up the volume on who they are as a person. So we could go on and on about this, but the goal though is that I think of the voice like a runner's body. Okay. Now, runners in the 70s were these skinny, sickly, gaunt guys and kind of flatten their legs. Runners in this century are these buff, super cut, whatever they are.
Yeah.
You could take that physique and that amazing physical, ability, and you could put that person in any sport: soccer, football, rugby, basketball, whatever that, hockey. And they will excel if they have all of the ability to have a runner's body.
Yeah,
with the voice.
yeah.
And that's the goal for KTVA. That's what we do.
So you want to learn them sing many techniques.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
not many techniques, styles within a very
Styles.
specific technique. But yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Do you see them and say you need to sing throat or diaphragm or
No. It doesn't work that way. It works first at the core. The core is everything. Your whole abdominal cavity. The core is everything. Here's something. Okay, I want to tell you something funny. I got a guy who's helping me put together like a series of tutorials for KTVA, and he says, "I want you to tell me about the anatomy of the larynx and the voice." So we start talking about the cricoarytenoid and thyroid cartilage, and the larynx and all this stuff and how it plays a role. He goes, "Okay, I want you to explain this so that when you explain this, people understand that this is how the voice works." And I said, "No, you can't do that because it doesn't start there. It starts here at the core. And what everyone misses, and you can go back to the earliest things that Ronnie James Dio said and David Coverdale said way back, is abdominal core strength breathing. This is what gave me everything I do." So it's not that it's this anatomy just here. It's the anatomy starts here. But science hasn't caught up to that yet. Science thinks that, it's just vocal folds resonate at a certain thing here, and as I talk or sing or whatever. No, it's core strength that provides the ability for Katie, when she's exhausted, like you said, and felt like she had nothing left in her, to go, no. We got more in us, and we're going to start back here again, and we're going to take it one more time. Again, we're going to take it one more time. Again, we're going to take it one more time, until all of a sudden she's throwing down and singing better after she was tired, because she employed the whole mechanism of what it takes to sing.
So is that core the diaphragm or
No, it's not. There's two diaphragms. There's one just below the rib cage, and there's one down at the pelvic floor. A lot of people don't even know this.
Okay.
And there's a transverse abdominis muscle that runs through the core of the abdomen, and a bunch of other muscles as well. And it's training the whole mechanism to have the strength to relax the chest, neck, and the throat, and to understand how to compress air in a way that we don't overuse air to dry out the cords, so you can sing for hours on end and not fatigue.
Yeah. Great explanation. I didn't know about the second diaphragm.
Yes, you'll look it up. It's correct.
Yeah, I will, of course.
Okay.
Oh, amazing explanation. Probably that's why you're one of the best. What does Ken? What do you think about today's music industry? Is there industry anymore, or
Okay,
I mean,
so
does it pays off to record albums, to sell vinyls and digital?
So you're asking a question that we could take 3 episodes just to talk about.
Yeah.
A Reader's Digest, I don't know if there's a magazine in the 70s, a condensed version of the answer to that is, by the way, again, poor Ken Tamplin that fakes everything, right? I'm going to go back to this again, who has the songs on Kiss records. I remember Gene saying to me personally, and I was in a Bob Ezrin session, who did Pink Floyd, The Wall, whatever. We're in this session, and then we're doing this song called I Confess, and I did the Vinyl Confessions album or something. I have to go look it up. Don't quote me on the exact one. Just go look it up. You'll see. Anyway, and he said the music industry is dead. It's over. Dave Grohl said the same thing. By the way, Kat Von D was one of my students for over a decade, and Dave Grohl was her drummer on some of her stuff. And she was actually
Kat Von D.
She was engaged to Nikki Sixx at the time, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Anyway,
okay.
So
Kat Von D has a new great album now.
Yeah, I was her vocal coach for almost a decade.
Awesome.
When she's posted that online, she comes out and says it. I studied at the Tamplin Vocal Academy. Anyway, but back to this. So when I was growing up, I want to say this another way. I would love to take some time to actually talk about this, okay? So hear me out. I grew up in the 70s. And in the 70s, bands that were up and coming bands, We're not trying to copy other bands. That kind of happened in the 80s because they employed, Desmond Child to write the songs, or Diane Warren to write the songs, and Warrant and all these Winger, all these bands, maybe not so much Winger because Kip's his own guy, but all these bands that were coming up, and Kip's, by the way, a way underrated, talented guy.
Yeah, great.
Wow, just wow, crazy talented guy. Anyway, composer, everything. But so in the 70s, and I want to cast a vision for this because you asked where the music business is going. In the 70s, when Boston 1 came out, oh my gosh, and then Van Halen 1 comes out. I can't remember which came out first. It was like, and bands weren't competing to sound like the other bands. They went, we need to find our own signature niche.
Yeah.
So Lynyrd Skynyrd became Lynyrd Skynyrd. Kansas became Kansas. Foreigner became Foreigner. Journey became Journey. Deep Purple was always Deep Purple. Rainbow and whatever, but they competed for creativity, not for competition to sound like each other.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, that started to change because in the advent of Bon Jovi and stuff, and Bon Jovi's own thing, that was cool. But everyone, the big anthemic choruses, and it's all going to be a song that's written by this person, so radio will embrace it. Can we get a movie deal going here? Can we get a movie? And whatever. So everybody started to sound not the same, but there was a lot of similarity going on. Now, what happened is, and you can disagree with this, and I don't care because it's just the way I feel. And I know this for myself to be true. I grew up in the Guitar Hero era. And all I wanted to be was Jimmy Page. I wanted to be, Joe Perry. I wanted to be Carlos Santana, Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, all these early guys, Jan Ackerman, by the way, he's another underrated guitar player. But all these
Focus, yeah.
Yeah, but mostly guitar, like Hocus Pocus, all the harmonic minor stuff, Yeah. But anyway, so what wound up happening is I believe when the Washington thing happened with Nirvana and everything that happened with grunge, the grunge era.
The Seattle, yeah.
Seattle. I said Washington, Seattle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
When that happened, I really believe that a lot of kids were starting to look at corporate music as unattainable. And it really was, because we found out that nobody was, did Nikki Sixx play on any of his records? Like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't there. But I know Rob Rock, and I know, other people that were in the know. And Mike Toshi, actually, we did a lot of TV commercials. He did the Metallica Black album. These guys anybody can vet this stuff if they really want to dig and talk. But anyway, so what happened was, instead of it being organic and everyone having a fair chance at their own identity, a mega corporate sound started to happen. Yeah. And a lot of these kids went, I just can't do this. I'm going back to the 60s where I could just play my guitar and just tell a story. And I'm depressed. I hate my dad. I'm taking drugs and blah, blah. And all those guys are dead now, with exception of Eddie Vedder and maybe one or two other guys. But I think they're Lane Staley, Chris Cornell, they're all gone. And they lived through this era. So you watch this happen, and a collapsing overnight of commercial rock as we knew it. Now, that was also true because the labels went, we can get these other kids from Seattle for a lot less money than what it's costing us to do this over here. So there was a sinister sort of, let's fold this industry and get it to collapse so we can bolster this other industry. The problem is they could sell records, but they couldn't sell a lot of live shows like what had happened with the mega, bands, including Elton John and, Paul McCartney, like whatever that looked like, right? But it also ended an era of the 60s, 70s, 80s bands being able to write new music and have that be embraced by fans, because those fans wanted to live nostalgically, remembering the old days. They weren't looking for the new days. The people through the Seattle movement, that was their era. It was the soundtrack to their life. And so they wanted to embrace that. And once that era ended, it was a free-for-all. So now what happens is is the advent of the internet, the advent of Napster, the advent of mp3.com, and people not being able to make money selling their music anymore. I was a byproduct of that. So I was doing music for film and television for 10 years. You can go to imdb.com right now, put in Ken Tamplin, worked on the X-Files, worked on Baywatch, worked on all these big TV shows, you know, the theme for Ace Ventura. I could go on and on. And all of a sudden, major film companies and labels were combing MySpace for music because they could get it cheap. And there was a writer's strike going on at that time, and they could get this music for nothing. And so it shrinked and shrinked and shrinked and shrinked an industry that squashed out anybody's ability to make a living at this. That was the advent of me starting KTVA, going, okay, well, I still need to feed my family, and I don't want to go on the road and do that whole road dog thing again.
Yeah.
So I'll take all of this decades of information that I had, you know, with all the records I've done and stuff I've produced and my own, you know, learning from voice, whatever, and I'll put it out there to see if there's anybody who wants to, you know, participate. So now, here we are, answer to your question. So when Gene said that the music business is dead, it's over, and Dave Grohl said the same thing. What they should have said was that the old dinosaur way of doing music is dead. The old dinosaur where the labels are all in control. You're lucky if you get a record deal. You're lucky if you get distribution or airplay. You're lucky if you get on a tour. You got to give away your publishing now. You got to give away merchandise now. They're going to own your website. And this whole list goes on and on. It's a brave new world. And there is a lot of opportunity. Now, on the one hand, there's a glut of crap that's just being flooded into the marketplace. But on the other hand, there's a lot of really like the band feel, this, you know, the band feel, or like, you know, these other new bands coming up. I'm like, that's cool, man. It's like the Black Crowes or something, you know, it's cool. Like, you know, and there's a new, fresh. So let me say this, and I'm going to close with this, not the time to talk, but I'm going to close with my comments.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many people have complained about, you know, how much money they are losing. The Don Henleys of the world, the Bryan Adams of the world. I'm losing all this money because people like, you know, maybe Ken Tamplin are doing cover songs. By the way, I don't monetize any of the cover songs that I do because I don't own them. And I get 100% of all of the proceeds and the royalties to go to the artist. I don't even try to monetize it. I monetize my singing stuff, but I don't monetize it because it's their intellectual property, okay? Yeah. Let me say this. 100 years ago to 8,000 years before that, there was no such thing. So here we are, and it's time to take it to the people. It's time to be more organic about it. It's time to go town to town. It's time to not be okay with busting out an acoustic and going to a couple clubs here and there. We don't all have to be arena rock stars, and it could end up being there. But I'm saying we need to remember that this phenomenon has only been around for 100 years. Yeah. And we've got to go back to the core of why we do what we do. We do it because we love it. We do it because we have a story to tell. And we do it because no one else can tell our story like us. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Tamplin, for that encouraging message.
So you think that you can live off of music today?
I think if you're smart about it, you absolutely can. Absolutely you can. No doubt. It's just that too many people are still with the old paradigm of how it's always worked, and they're trying to bring that into the 21st century. Let me tell you, folks, I'll say this again to all my musician friends out there. AI is about to kick your ass. It's about to kick your ass so hard, you have no idea how. I'm going to put in ChatGPT and say, I want a song to sound like Eagles and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and I want a country girl, blah, 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 and it's going to spit it out. Sony's already done this.
Yeah.
It's up to you to be more creative than the machine.
Yep. So now it's the time to rage against the machine, right?
That would be exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, Ken, what are your short-term, long-term plans as of the end of the interview?
You know, right now, I'm just enjoying what I do. I will say this. I would love to see people stop hating on each other on the internet because it gets some views. I'd really just love to see some creativity. The proof is in the singing. I just want to see people sing, create art like Katie. Katie just put out a great new single. Great new single. Gabriella, she's got a new original song coming out. It's a great new song. Kayla just put out a new great album. Let's get back to the artistic part of this.
Yeah.
Let's get back to creativity, positivity, encouraging each other, lifting each other up, instead of everybody being so concerned about tearing each other down to get views on their YouTube channels. That's what I'd love to see.
So that's what you love, and that's what you are making with your academy, because that's a long-term plan. Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
So long-term plan, you want to teach some more people, be like Katie and like Gabriella.
I teach a lot of people, but I also, at some point, I'd love to do like a class on how to grow your YouTube channel. I saw something really funny. I saw this, and it's really hilarious. These people are making all these memes of me now. And one of them was, fake views on KTVA. Those are all fake views. I forget, we have 200 million views and 1.2 million subs. Oh, fake subs. And what was funny about it is like, man, if I knew that I could have bought those views a long time ago, I'd have 100 million views. And by the way, you who posted that, if you believe that it was true, you should have 100 million views too, but you can't, because YouTube doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to get views and to get subs. So, but I would do a class on showing people how to organically grow their businesses. And
I will follow that. I want to grow too with the podcast.
Okay, well, we can talk later about it, but yeah, so.
Okay, Ken, we're right at the end of the episode. We talked a lot. We talked about all the subjects that I was interested in. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation.
It's my pleasure, man. I saw some of your stuff, and I saw the one with Katie, and I go, that guy's cool.
Whoa, man! Thank you. Yeah, I saw that you were supporting us from the beginning. I saw you liking some of the episodes. Yeah.
Yep, we sure did.
Yep, thank you very much, man.
That's cool. All right, good to see you, man. Thank you for the interview.
Thanks.
All right, God bless you. Ciao.